Good afternoon. Welcome to Cool Talk. Thank you for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the previous episodes and caught up on from episode one to now. I've said in my first episode my idea for this program and podcast was not only business and about not just Brown's Heating and Air, but personal and spiritual stuff around the community. And if there's ways that we can help help people, anybody locally with anything, that I'm gonna bring a guest on that can help. And this pandemic's been going on for about a year. So who I have today, I have my pastor from our church, Calvary, Pastor Lewis back with. It is Doctor.
It is, yeah.
It is Doctor.
So
fine, with much respect,
Yeah.
Doctor. And just from some words of encouragement and of the pandemic, how it's affected people and stress and different things, and a little bit about you, where you're from and how you got here.
I grew up in southeastern Connecticut, so New England, born and bred, and parents were blue-collar workers, and I was really the first to go to college in my family. Started at the University of Connecticut, but didn't feel like that was the place where the Lord wanted me to be. So I left home for this school I'd never heard of, this place I'd never heard of. My pastor encouraged me to go to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, and at that point I hadn't been further south than the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So it was a pretty big move, pretty bold move, and big jump for me. And came here to Lynchburg, started school here in Lynchburg, and about a year later, found my way to Calvary, and the rest has been a good ride.
So nobody else in your family was a pastor, or were you the first in your family that went into the pastor business?
Yep, first generation. My mom comes from a family that's connected to the church. My grandfather and my great grandmother were committed to the local church and served. My father didn't come from a religious family at all, so my father didn't come to faith till I was in middle school, high school, somewhere in that time range. And so I didn't have any background with family serving in the church, anything like that. I didn't have any background with anybody going to college with that. So this was a completely new experience for me, completely new experience for my family.
Mine's kind of the same way, but my parents, we did raise us Christian, and I was raised in the church. I was there, Baptist church, 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. And I became, and if anybody listened to my first episode, one of the preacher boys in our youth group. It was three of us. And we actually, for about 2 years, we would get up on Sunday nights in front of the congregation. It would be one night a month would be youth night, and we would have to give a sermon. And my dad still has pictures and videos of me getting it. So I'm like 16 years old, you know.
There you go.
That was nerve-wracking. And the only reason I really didn't pursue it was they worked hard, but I had 4 brothers and a sister. There's 5 of us in the whole household. It was just couldn't afford the college for it, so I got in a trade that paid for the college.
Yep.
And I still consider Heating and Air a service. We service a lot of people, and we do good for the community. So, but I do miss not doing that. I've always had a thing of doing it, and I always would dream of getting up there as a fiery Baptist pastor.
There you go.
So, this pandemic, hit about a year ago now, and it changed everything. And in a world now where we need pastors more than anything, I know some of your roles have been taken back because of restrictions and stuff. So how has that changed you on how you go about things to still be able to reach people outside of the church?
I think we try to be as consistent as we can, do the things we're able to do as best as we're able to do them. That's changed significantly because of restrictions and concerns that people have. Certainly don't want to be somebody that takes something into somebody's home or into a context where it's not already. So you have to walk in wisdom. We have to serve as best we're able. So it's changed some things, but I think the goal is mainly to try to be as consistent as possible, because what people have lacked through the pandemic is that sense of normalcy or the ordinary. I think a lot of us like routine, we like ordinary, and so being able to serve in some consistent ways and give people items to look back to as consistent elements in life that they can rely on and look to, whether it's a message or a presence or a phone call or a visit, whatever it may be, to provide some consistency through the process.
Yeah, and then social media has been huge, being able to put your services live on Facebook Live and through YouTube, and then record different weekly messages and be able to have them up so people can You can go to Calvary Baptist Church Facebook page and
Yes.
like it,
Yep.
and then it'll alert you when they go live on Sunday mornings, and then during the week, Pastor Lewis gives some different Bible lessons, which is really good. A lot of people, I know now that without church, I know, or with the pandemic in general, there's a lot of stress on money and jobs and spiritually. You know, you hear of suicide rates going up. You hear of a lot of negative stuff, but the one reason I wanted you to bring it on, there's still some good things that God promises us to look forward to and pray, and He's going to get us through this. Correct? But
Yeah.
what is your message of encouragement for
I
that?
think the presence of God in the lives of His people and in a broken world, that at the center of the message that we proclaim as Christians is a God who doesn't sit by idly and watch the world just burn down,
Right.
but enters in. The message of Christmas that we look to is a God who leaves heaven, comes to earth, and takes on our struggle as His own. And He does that so He can bring an end to it. And while we're awaiting the ultimate conclusion to that story, in the gospel and the good news that Christians proclaim, we have this declaration that God comes to us, that we have God with us, and that's true in the best of situations. It's true in the worst of situations. So being consistent in that message as churches, that what is going to help people is that message of unchanging hope that we find in Christ.
Yeah, it almost reminds you of some of the old stories in the beginning of the Bible where the world was starting to sin and get bad, and you had to have the trust of Noah. Like Noah had to have the trust and faith that, you know, especially in a drought, build an ark, it was going to rain, you know, and we have to have that trust and faith that we're going to get through this pandemic. We can get back to normal, but if not, there are some ways you could still do things at home. Like you would probably recommend to stay close to God if you can't get to church, like maybe Bible plans or at least praying and stuff like that. Maybe an online Bible study, maybe at a Zoom with people that in like faith and be able to come closer together.
Yeah, what we try to encourage our congregation to do is those what we've called traditionally spiritual disciplines. So some sense of consistency in the scriptures. So scripture reading, scripture meditation. We're blessed in the moment in history that we find ourselves, where there are any number of resources where somebody can use, whether it's an app on a phone or an app on a tablet or printed resources that are just spectacular for us to use. And with that, being able to connect with others through prayer and just through a sense of community, because it's hard just to do it by yourself.
Yeah, and I know I'm hoping we're getting near the end of this. I love to get back. I mean, the kids, like you said, they love routine, but they love school and they love church. I mean, it's a safe place for kids to be, both places. So, um, it's probably put a stress on you and other pastors. Maybe not, not being able to visit families, not be able to visit hospitals and stuff and see people because that just it brings a good hope to people. Even if you're in the hospital sick, when somebody comes and just prays with you.
Right. And the primary responsibility, I think, or a primary responsibility of those in ministry is people work. That we're people who are called to care for people. We love our neighbor as ourselves, and we lead in that. So it's hard when you're limited of being able to see those that you care about and that you want to serve. But you also have to recognize part of not going is serving them if there's concern that you could
Right.
put their health
Correct.
at risk. So it's been a double-edged sword in some ways of there's a desire to go, there's a desire to serve, there's also a desire to do what's best for them. And that's made it difficult as well.
Yeah, and almost with all the restrictions we've had for a year, you probably feel like a missionary. Some countries you go to, it's so hard to get the word out and restrictions that it's almost like now you're even home as a pastor, you feel like you're in a missionary role, like trying to work around some restrictions, but you still have a job to do. You want to try to get as many people to the Lord as possible without breaking any laws and rules.
And I think that it requires a certain amount of creativity. I think one of the items coming out of this season of history is going to be a need for ministry leaders. And I think the same is true for small business owners. We have to think creatively because the world that existed the first Sunday or the second Sunday of March 2020. That the world doesn't exist
It may
anymore.
never
Right. So,
exist.
so we have to be prepared to to move on our toes, to think well, to listen and to learn from the past, but also to look towards and lead towards the future. And so ministry leaders are going to have to take this moment, because a lot of major changes throughout church history happen because of stressor moments like this. Children's ministry, Sunday school came as a result of the Industrial Revolution, where families were having to work all the time and churches had to figure out, how do we still do ministry to kids when their parents can't get them to church?
Right.
And the churches started going to the kids and having these collections of children's ministry in streets on Sunday morning that turned into what we call Sunday school.
Sunday school. Okay.
So I think we have to be able to think creatively in this moment. Whether you're leading a local church or you're leading a small business, there's a requirement that we can't think that we're going to go back to what was,
Right.
but we have to be able
Adapt to
to
what's now.
adapt to what is.
Yeah, it's and on the other side of that, I did a Christmas podcast at the end of the year, kind of a Christmas and a testimony, and I kind of brought up the other side of the pandemic that some people may see, that we may be going through this as God's way of saying slow down. And I said in there that just the feeling, especially during the season of Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're used to going to 15, 20 different places, and you're going to this program, this program. Well, then this Christmas, we had to dial back and become what Christmas used to be, where you enjoy who's there with you at that time and not rushed place to place. So in hindsight, maybe this is something God has put to us to kind of reset, and get away from the worldly things of Black Friday shopping all day instead of Thanksgiving with your friend. And we all are guilty of it.
Yeah.
I love all that as well. But this Christmas was definitely different and felt different and more loved, where we had to slow down. There was no other option.
I have a friend who works retail. He's a manager at a retail store here in the area. And it was wonderful to see how he didn't have to run in some frenzied way through the holidays because of that reset. And I think that reset is helpful. We're not designed to go constantly.
Right.
God designed us work for 6, rest for 1, work for 6, rest for 1. I think a lot of us got out of that pattern. And this year forced us to stop, reevaluate our routines, and hopefully create a new ordinary moving forward. And hopefully an ordinary that responds to the opportunities that God's given us and how we're put together, and not to wear ourselves out again.
Yeah, and this may be the new normal for years to come, the way it is. But it's not a bad thing. We just adapt and learn new rituals and learn new things that we do to make everybody happy and keep our family together. If there's someone listening that may be struggling with something, but they're scared to reach out to either you or a pastor in their area, what would you say to give them some kind of comfort or advice? Like maybe it's stress over money and job. They need somebody to talk to and pray with and learn how to start a Bible program or be saved, but they're scared to call.
I would tell them they're not alone. That I think often when you're in that position, you think you're the only one. So if that's you and you're listening today, you're not the only one. The regular responsibility in ministry is to remind people that we all go through that struggle. I think sometimes we can put up a front, we can walk into church with a happy face, and everybody thinks everybody has it together but me.
Right.
We're all a mess.
Yeah.
I've discovered that over 20 years of ministry, we're all a mess. We just hide it in different ways. So if you're in that place, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Ask for help, ask for guidance. We're going through the book of Ruth right now at church. And I think one of the great reminders in the book of Ruth is a God who works through the ordinary, but he works through the ordinary routines and processes of our life to show us his everyday kindness, his grace. And so reminding people that, yes, those stressors, you're not alone in them, but there's a God who rules and reigns the heavens, who wants to enter into your life, wants to give you the strength for today, wants to give you hope for tomorrow, and wants to empower you to see the future with a sense of hope, not with a sense of dread.
Yeah, that's great advice. So please, if you need anything, if you're in the area, our church is Calvary Baptist on Timberlake Road beside the McDonald's. Pastor Lewis is always welcoming calls. And don't feel like, oh, I'm not a member, I can't call. That's who we want. We
Right.
want people who who don't have a church.
Exactly.
We want them. It's nobody there is above anybody else, and it's always we've always. It took us a couple of years to look for a church, and we came to Calvary. Our neighbors invited us, and we always felt welcome from day one. Never felt like you were an outsider. So everybody treated us so that's the main thing. Reach out. That's who we want. We want you to reach out. We don't want anybody to get to the point of no help and then and do something drastic. We want to be able to help whoever we can prevent that stuff. So great information, Pastor. Thank you for all that. Anything else you want to share or say before we end it?
Appreciate you serving the community the way you do, and last year's dream home, and I think I heard we're going to be doing another one in the coming year.
Yep,
so looking forward to just serving the community together.
It's going to be different because now we have a dream home, but it's all Zoom meetings. We're not going to be able to do all these events we had, so it's definitely going to be different. But it is another home coming up, so hopefully by the end of the year there'll be tickets for that for sale. So
just a great opportunity for the Lynchburg area to come together.
Yes.
I think this year
St.
especially
Jude is just a huge program.
I think reminding people we're in this together, whether it's a pandemic or anything else. As a community, we have to come together and serve together and see that greater goal of loving our neighbors and coming together.
Yep. And then hopefully then this pandemic will be behind us. We can get something normal, but if not, you can still watch the services online.
Join us
live every Sunday
can.
morning, 10:30 on the Facebook page or YouTube. And you hit the link and I'll hit the link on my phone and share it to the TV, Apple TV, and it comes up on the TV like a regular episode, which is good. So,
and if somebody's comfortable in person, we do 2 services on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. and 10:30.
Yep. So you still have some in person, so you can do that too if you want to show up and look up Calvary. They have the number on the website if you ever need anything for the pastor or just to talk. And we'll find you. He'll talk to you, help you with anything you have. If it's something they can't handle, you need something more, we'll help find it. We don't want anybody going through a hard time if possible. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope this was a good episode for everybody. So be safe. God bless, and let's keep going. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.